Paul Harrell, weekdays from 4 to 6. Learn more at paulharrell.com.
And gentlemen, welcome to the program today. My name is Paul. You have found the intersection of conservative ideas and reality, and we're building a liberty machine. It feels really good to say that today of all days, more so than maybe a typical day. The intersection of conservative ideas and reality, where it's not just campaign rhetoric. It is actually wanting to see the ideas of limited government, personal responsibility, fiscal responsibility realized. And the reason that I believe that so strongly is because I do not believe you can ever fully eliminate corruption in government, because we are fallen human beings. That's why government must be limited as we can make it in its size and scope, while still existing, of course, because of the fact that we cannot eliminate corruption. We cannot perfect man with an edict or a law or a good campaign speech. So that slogan, intersection of conservative ideas and reality, it actually means more today in the wake of what I believe, according to my sources, coming indictments of several members of the Arkansas General Assembly and the political clique, the political elite, if you will, down at the Marble Palace. What's interesting is our whiteboard for this week has been Con Arkansas. Of course, it's only Tuesday. I wrote this really just highlighting the Jake File situation, as well as the John Woods, Mike and Neal situation, and everything else. I had no idea what was going to develop. For those of you here for the first time that are just trying to figure out whatever it is I know, and I know there are people listening, to our online broadcast who are here just because of what I've been tweeting. First of all, welcome. I don't have any names. I definitely know there are people who hold office that probably have names. According to what the way I understand this, there are certainly people that have names. There's none of my sources are on the record officially, and so there's really no point in. If I had the names, I certainly wouldn't be talking about them unless I, saw the FBI, saw the Justice Department documents myself. But what I can tell you is, and I had a tip, and then I called around, and I do have, it confirmed that the FBI met with the leadership of the Arkansas Senate at some point last week. I'm assuming that Senator Jim Hendren, there was a meeting essentially apprising, making aware Senator Hendren and maybe a few others what exactly is about to go down and the severe impacts it will have. Well, really honestly, there may be a lot of people moving up in seniority from the way I understand things. There are indictments coming, I'm told, very soon. I talked to one person who said they expected the indictments today, in fact. I've talked to others that say this week. I've had all kinds of tips about this, just from, really, you wouldn't believe me if I told you, quite honestly. I have a source that says that not all of these indictments are about general improvement fund money that are coming down the pike. That, that's what's been in the news. That's what's, well, if you can call it that, it's actually been in the news. It hasn't had the coverage that I would like to see in a statewide media. I can tell you that much, for sure. So, what I will say about this is, I had a tip. Then I have had it confirmed multiple times that this is what is about to happen. And the tip is hearsay, and then but eventually you get to the point where you say, okay, what about, and some of this stuff started last week. And I tell you what the weirdest thing is. The weirdest thing about all of this is that last week the whiteboard said FBI interviews, and I was just talking about, I actually made the joke. I made the joke that if if you haven't been interviewed by the FBI, it seems like you've been worried because you had that Gazette piece where they went down and they said, they said that there was, this person's been interviewed, has confirmed. I think it was Bart Hester said he's been interviewed by the FBI and all these people. And, the general public's going to say, well, if you're interviewed by the FBI, that must be a bad thing. That's not necessarily the case at all. You're interviewed by the FBI. That doesn't mean anything. There's tons of people that have been interviewed by the FBI over this stuff. And what's funny is everybody has known this. Everybody has known that this is going to happen for a long time. People have been talking about the FBI in Arkansas. People have been talking about people wearing wires. We've now find out that there are secret recordings of John Woods. We now find out that as soon as he got done with his FBI interview, he called State Representative Micah Neal on this whole thing. And so, this is just a developing situation is what I can tell you. But I'm just saying that this is maybe, and the reason I want to be clear here, Arkansas, the reason I'm telling you this is because Arkansas may very well have a second chance at limited government that is not just simply limited to this phony, fake Republican ascension, where people are now assuming that because you have an R next to your name, everything is fine and limited government is being implemented and conservative policies are being implemented when there hasn't actually been the reform enacted that the people want. The reform enacted that the people have voted for is being ignored by those who are protecting the status quo. And corruption is a real thing. And it's obvious to me, in many cases, that some of these individuals don't want to police themselves. Some of these individuals they're incapable of policing themselves. That's the real truth of the matter. It's not that they're incapable of policing themselves on some of this stuff. So let me tell you about numbers. And I put this on Twitter. So the speculation is, and this is speculation just from what I have been told. And again, let me just be clear here. I had all of this information from one source, and then you get it from one source, and then you say, hey, did this happen? And then it's yes, and then did this happen? And it's yes, and so it goes on and on and on, and you're just like, okay, well, this is what's going on behind the scenes, and I am committed to telling you the truth. I'm committed to telling you what is happening, and not necessarily what they want you to believe is happening. So you have, what I'm told is, you have one Democrat senator, at least, who's looking at being indicted. Now, Gwen Moritz from Arkansas Business, I was talking to her on Twitter. She was saying that she knows of two Democrat senators who are under investigation. I'm told as maybe two more. I'm told as many as 3 Democrats could be indicted very soon. I'm also told that the rest of the people who are going to be indicted are Republicans. And it sounds like the Republicans far outnumber the Democrats here. I had somebody call me asking me for names. Again, I have no names. I've been given no names. But they wondered if some of the Republicans, used to be Democrats. I don't know. I'm also told that these indictments are not just confined to the Senate. They are also reaching into the House of Representatives. They're also down there, and we don't know how many. I have not been given any number on how many Republicans total, how many House members, how many senators. I haven't been told that. I am curious as to know if we are talking about Republican senators being indicted, if that's really what's about to happen. I'm curious to know if some of these Republican senators have been supported by the establishment in the past, specifically Governor Asa Hutchinson. If I mean, if we're talking about the usual suspects here that have been in the media, that have been in the news, that we know have done something, whether it's the sworn FBI affidavit under penalty of perjury that mentions Jake Files, or whether it's, whether you're looking at John Woods and Mike and Neal. I mean, with Jake Files and John Woods, we certainly understand them to be in with the establishment and to be receiving the praise or receiving the backing at one time or another of the Republican leadership and Governor Asa Hutchinson. I mean, it was Jake Files who this past session, let's remember, was championing the internet sales tax and was the front man on that. And then it was until I really think the bad press for Jake Files really brought Dan Douglas to the forefront to kind of, push some of that through. Of course, I don't want to get into that right now. But then you look at John Woods. We've got the invitation, of Asa Hutchinson hosting a fundraiser for John Woods right before. That was in October of 2015, right before he said, "No, I'm not going to run anymore. I want to focus on fishing and time with family." Of course, we now know because of the tapes and because of the FBI interviews, we now know that he was being interviewed by the FBI shortly after that. So. And by the way, in that article, his lawyer was saying, "Tell the truth. Just tell the truth, John. Just tell the truth." This is potentially, politics aside, really going to hurt the confidence that people in Arkansas have in this system. Is it going to hurt the Republican Party brand? Of course. There's Democrats that are going to be ensnared here as well, but Arkansas may have a second chance if this is the case. And I would just say this. Get your special election hats on. Get them on. Because it looks like we're going to be seeing a ton of movement in both chambers of the House, according to the word on the street. And if you look at Twitter right now, just go look at my tweets if you want, specific points on some of this stuff. Folks, we're going to take a break. Before we do, though, I want to remind you about iTex. iTex, they are the techs to trust. And if you're a business owner and you are not protected for things like ransomware, cybersecurity threats, you got to know that those things are constantly evolving, and you need somebody that's on the case. And iTex is an Arkansas-based company that will help protect your business by protecting your data, and then that protects your bottom line. So ask yourself the question, is your business really prepared for stuff like that? I think most of us would say no, so be proactive. Don't be trying to look up, your data's all locked up and you've got to figure out how to buy a Bitcoin to get your data back, right? Carroll County Sheriff's Department actually paid the ransom when their data was locked up. If law enforcement's doing it, what choice do you have? You got to turn to the professionals. Be proactive. Equip your business with the best cybersecurity available with iTex. Call them today. The consultation is free, ladies and gentlemen. 870-336-9778. That's 870-336-9778. You can visit them on the web at itexusa.com. That's itexusa.com. Back in a moment. Arkansas small businesses are tired of taxes that are too high and regulations that work as obstacles to small business success. If you own a small business, it's time to take action. Now, I'm not talking about the local chambers of commerce. I'm talking about an organization that's actually run by small business owners and are fighting for small businesses right here in the state of Arkansas. They're called Conduit for Action, and they're on your side. Conduit for Action is here not to get something from the government, but to be left alone by the government. Think of them as your personal advocate for limited government at the Capitol in Little Rock. If you're tired of all the politicians talking with no results and ready for action, start outsourcing your government affair needs with Conduit for Action. Go now to conduitforaction.org and click on Contact Us on the right side of the page. That's conduitforaction.org and stand up for small business in Arkansas. In a world full of constituents with social media accounts, bloggers just looking to increase their page views, and a talk radio host who generally is just the worst, how are Little Rock's elite supposed to conduct business with such a lack of privacy? Introducing the 1835 Club, older and more refined than other clubs that claim discretion. The 1835 Club is for seasoned political veterans that want to conduct the highest form of aristocratic business with the public's money. Are you a schemer? Do you someday want a guaranteed flow of taxpayer money to support your business? Is it your dream to see the .gov domain at the end of your business website? Don't listen to the imitators. The 1835 Club is the place where corrupt politicians and businessmen hatch their next crony schemes. At the 1835 Club, we make lobbying safe and legal.
Ethics.
Why, of course. All business is done in an ethical manner. Just look for the sign above the door that reads, loophole. Are you tired of the Capitol Police restricting your access to the roof after a perfectly good night of drinking? The 1835 Club has libations and a perfectly good roof. Other crony clubs that promise discretion try to lure you in by advertising bars made out of aeroplanes. Well, at the 1835 Club, instead of an airplane fuselage, we've got a space shuttle. No, not a bar. We've got an actual space shuttle that makes a daily run to the moon so members of the 1835 Club can have some real privacy away from the bloggers and taxpayers. Are you an Arkansas aristocrat? Do you want to be? It's the 1835 Club, and we work tirelessly to make sure the good old boy system remains alive and well. Join today.
Disclaimer. The 1835 Club reserves the right to deny membership to anyone who has principles. Any talk of the Declaration of Independence or the Constitution must be done in jest or, at the very least, with a condescending tone. And finally, the 1835 Club will be given a 25% commission of any agreements made between politicians and the business community.
PHP Parody. Need to get something off your chest? Then call or text Paul now, 870-275-9799.
Sorry, my microphone went. 870-275-9799. Welcome back. All right, so we're talking about really the culture of corruption in Arkansas. I guess probably in the next hour, maybe the next half hour. I want to revisit an article, "The Cure for Influence Peddling in the State of Arkansas." It was a 2015 article. It was written over at Conduit for Action. What's fascinating is I found this article the other day on accident, and I was just searching for John Woods, just trying to, because the stuff about the tapes had come out and everything else, and I was just curious. All right, let me just Google search John Woods, and on the first search page on down is "The Cure for Influence Peddling," and in the influence peddling article, they mentioned several names. Conduit mentioned several names that have since now been basically pinched. It's amazing. Now, not everybody in that list, has been indicted, or, not everybody has, but it is kind of uncanny in the amount of people who were, accused of peddling influence or influence peddling, and yet now, and Jake Files is on that list, John Woods is on that list, and some more. And, Michael Lamoureux is on that list. Now, let's not forget. And you got to wonder if we're talking about, GIF money. I mean, that's what's in the news. That's what's in the media. And look, I don't mind to be the first to talk about this stuff. I really don't. I think that every single media outlet in the state should have been going up to these politicians and asking them, hey, are you a consultant? Hey, do you consult for anybody? And I honestly, we really can't talk about this. If this really is going into Medicaid, if this really is now moving from GIF into Medicaid entities, it is no secret that in 2013, the healthcare entities, out-of-state healthcare lobbyists, in-state healthcare lobbyists. I mean, the amount of money that came in to get Republicans to expand Medicaid was immense. We're talking about fighting over whether or not a $2 billion program gets implemented. And we know how the Democrats wanted it. We know the Democrats wanted socialized medicine. They wanted to expand it, but Republicans had just campaigned on not expanding it. And so how do you get a Republican, in my opinion, how do you get a Republican to do something they campaigned against and implement Obamacare in Arkansas? You know, we're talking about a lot of money coming into the state. And so you look at somebody like Senator Brian King, who 3 and 4 times has tried to run a simple Medicaid disclosure bill that would require just public disclosures of what Medicaid entities are spending with taxpayer dollars, what they are spending on consultants, and or is a legislator a consultant? How much are they spending on lobbying? These type of things, very, very simple things that if you apply to other industries are already in place. Disclosing Medicaid monies, like when we're talking about, let's just say this: if you're a legislator and you have a lawn care business and you get a lawn contract with a state university to cut their grass, you just have to disclose that. There's no penalty. There's nothing bad that happens. People just have to know, hey, you're benefiting from this contract and you're also a politician. That's all that Brian King's disclosure bill that he tried to get through many times. I don't even know if there was ever an actual roll call vote on it. It did get out of the Senate committee and the full Senate last time, but then it died in the House committee. And I think some people just didn't even show up. They didn't have the 11 votes that it needed. And so I think we're really going to see here is a startling amount of corruption that is about to be exposed to the point where people are going to just be shocked, quite frankly. They're going to be shocked at all of this. Stay tuned. We have more at the top of the hour. And let me tell you something. If these indictments do, in fact, come out this week, if that's true, if there's any truth to that at all, what an interesting weekend it will be for the Arkansas Tea Party Alliance 3rd Annual Convention, Liberty. Liberty, does it matter? What an interesting bunch of conversations will be had at that convention this weekend if, in fact, we have more to tell you by the end of the week. You're listening to the Paul Harrell program. Thanks so much. We can't do it without you. Back in a moment. Let's continue, shall we? Let's go to our Twitter, and we're going to pull that up. These are the tweets that have been that we have put out there. Yeah, can you get us further in? You know what, Joe? First of all, back up. Go to the Arkansas Business article first that you just had up there. So this was Monday, okay? This was Monday. This is Andrew DeMillo's piece, the Associated Press. The headline was, Indictment Thoughts, Probes Grip Arkansas Capitol. It sounds to me like Andrew DeMillo, he wrote this on September the 11th, so that's yesterday. Sounds to me that Andrew DeMillo is essentially hearing. Why else? Why do you write an article like that? In a lot of ways, the information that I have given you here and the information that you see there is kind of like two peas in a pod, right? Let me pull this up here so we can see. If you can you zoom in for the folks? I don't think they can read that well enough. If I can't read it, they can't read it, Joe. He talks about the worst kept secret at the Arkansas Capitol over the past several months is the waiting game. This is not really news. The only thing that's new about it is that things are about to break. And we're about to figure out what exactly is going on here. We're about to figure out how bad this really is. And this story needs to be talked about constantly. It should have been talked about for the last 12 months constantly, especially ever since the plea came out with Mike Neal, John Woods, then he was indicted later. But the trickle down with Jake Files. I have been raising the warning flag. I'm the one that's been calling for Jake Files to resign. I'm the one that's been out there telling people to call the Arkansas GOP and tell them what a disgrace it is right now to be a Republican with this kind of stuff going on, because it turns your stomach, and that you guys are supposed to be the alternative to the Democrat rule, and now you're not. And the sheer damage that this could do, folks, this could let the Democrats right back in the game. I'm just going to be honest with you. This could let the Democrats, which is a sinking ship party that is full of more and more extremists, and they're the ones that are not are jumping jumping ship and becoming a Republican, a social issues Republican, but they believe in raising your taxes and spending as much money as we possibly can. But this could actually revive the Democrat Party. It really, really could, and it's and you know what? It's the fault of those who ignored the people. The people wanted real reform. The people wanted stuff like this to stop, to end. And you had that small minority of Republicans that paired with the Democrats to elect speakers of the House, that paired with the Democrats to pass Obamacare in Arkansas, which opened the floodgates with all of this money that came in. And that's just on the Medicaid side. The GIF side is immense in and of itself. We have politicians like Jake Files who are so lazy they can't even think of a proper money laundering scheme. That's how arrogant this whole situation is. Or maybe that's how desperate they were. You can't even think of a better, at least the AmeriCorps decision point, Ecclesia, and all of that stuff with the consultant and then the kickbacks and you hire this guy. At least that's money laundering. At least they're trying to put a few more steps besides, hey, you're my employee. I'm going to give you this government money, and then go open a bank account. We'll put it in, and then you give it to me. I mean, the sheer level of arrogance that you think you're going to get away with that is, it's an immense amount. I mean, it really is. And this is systemic. We're going to find out how deep this goes, and also watch for the people that are trying to protect this. Okay, watch out. I am sick and tired of people, and this is why I'm doing this show today. I'm sick and tired of people coming up to the line, right? They come up to the line and they criticize, and then it's like, oh, but I'm not going to go the full route. If anybody read John Brummett's piece today, when it got to Jake Files, he essentially said that. I couldn't believe it. The summary on Jake Files was incredible to me in the Brummett piece, which had to do with. Hang on one second. Got a frozen computer here. Yeah, GIF giving headaches. Okay. GIF giving headaches, and he does kind of a broad thing, but listen to what he says about Jake Files here. He says, two recent Republican legislators, a House member and a senator, have been charged with steering GIF money, then getting some kickbacks. Meantime, a sitting Republican state senator, Fort Smith, Jake Files, who chairs no less than the Senate Revenue and Tax Committee, acknowledged that federal authorities have been to see him. He has not been charged. Listen to this. All we can say, based on fine reporting in this newspaper, mainly, is that it seems he sought to get GIF money through his local planning and development district for his apparently struggling contracting business. I'm on a different article, Joe, but don't worry about it. Stay on this one. Can you believe that? That's the summary of Jake Files. And I'm thinking, have you read this affidavit? Have you read this? It's like, let's get right up to the edge, and then to me, it just seems like he's getting a pass. How is it that he's getting a pass? Could it be that the policies generally that the Republican leadership has pursued agree with big liberal columnists like John Brummett? I mean, in the national media, Republicans get hammered day in and day out, but Republicans in Arkansas don't by the statewide media. Why is that? It's really weird. It's also weird that, hey, I'm a conservative talk radio host. I spend more time trying to expose the corruption of Republicans than the mainstream media in Arkansas does. What is wrong with this picture? What is wrong with that? Meantime, a sitting Republican senator who chairs, John Brummett, again, all we can say based on fine reporting in this newspaper mainly, is that it seems he sought to get GIF through his local planning and development district for his apparently struggling contracting business. That's it? No, he got $14,000 of it in cash handed directly to him? No, that he got another $15,000 that did go to his business? There's no, he forged the contracting bids from other companies that have spoken out against him saying, we never sent those bids to the city of Fort Smith? None of that? No, he got $80,000 in a transfer from a nursing home lobbyist to his business? No bringing up the, quote, loan he got from lobbyist Bruce Hawkins and then paid back right as he reported it a year or so later, or whatever that time frame was. None of that. Just mainly, just what is going on? If you're just joining us, let's go to the Twitter. Let's go back to the Twitter page. See if they can. If you can zoom in so they can see that. It was back at 200%. Normally it was, I'm the one that, yeah, here we go. So here's some of our tweets from the last hour or so. First of all, it is very weird that last week the whiteboard read FBI interviews. So that's a thing. But let's start with, I guess, about 2 hours ago. I have sources that say indictments are coming very soon. Seems the FBI is trying to give the Arkansas Senate a heads up as to what's coming down the pike. Let me just elaborate on that for a little bit. What is coming down the pike? Well, I think just in terms of the government, in terms of what, stabilization, in terms of the fact that you do have a legislative body down there that governs things at the Marble Palace when they're not in full session. It's called the Arkansas Legislative Council. Now, my initial thought is, how many people, will government be able to continue to function? Will they be able to continue to rubber stamp all of Asa Hutchinson's contracts that he wants, in some cases $20 million more expensive than the people who are currently doing the job? You would need to know who is going, is my point. And that's essentially what is gone on. Is some, there have been people, from what I can understand, what I've confirmed is that there's been some information shared to make people aware of who's staying and who's going, Another tweet here: more sources saying indictments will affect House members as well as Senate members. I'm told as many as one Democrat in the Senate, maybe as high as 3. The rest are Republicans that are due to be indicted. Folks, this is a long time coming. This has been going on for so long. I can't tell you how many times I've heard this rumor, that rumor, this rumor, that rumor. Oh, it's coming. It's coming. I promise. They say, oh, these people are going to be indicted. Those people are going to be indicted. And I've heard some names, just over the past 2 years or so. But I mean, it's just, this is so immense. And what's so frustrating about this is how many of you out there don't know, how many of your coworkers at the water cooler actually don't know how bad this is. That's what's so frustrating with this. And that's why this program's committed to bringing you the truth. And so many times I've wanted to do this segment. I can't tell you how many times I have wanted to do this hour of radio, but I have held off and held off and held off because you just, but at this point, it's coming to the point where they're going to move on this. I hope what I'm hearing is correct. You can also, if it's true that we're talking about possible Medicaid issues instead of GIF issues now, then we're also talking about lobbyist consultants, very much like the lobbyists and consultants or whatever that have already been mentioned in the, Mike and Neil, John Woods, and everything else. Let's see here. Yeah, if what I'm hearing is true, put your special election hats on. Folks, and this is a joke, but what if so many people had to resign in the Arkansas Senate that they don't even have a quorum for the fiscal session next year, unless they have the special elections? What? I mean, come on. We want them to have a quorum, right? We want them to actually be able to function. Just keep it in mind. Another question: will some in the Arkansas legislature, the Republicans, to be indicted, will they also have a history of receiving strong support for Asa? Maybe they will. Again, our whiteboard, for those of you listening on our terrestrial radio stations, across the state of Arkansas, and great places like Fort Smith, Russellville, Mountain Home, Stuttgart, Jonesboro. Our whiteboard, for you those that are not listening, or not watching but listening, is Con, Arkansas this week. That's right, Con, Arkansas. And our politicians may very well be convicts before it's all said and done. Let me know what you think about this. The phone number, call us or text us today, 870-275-9799. That's 870-275-9799. We're going to go ahead and go to break. We're going to be back, though, in just a minute. Coming up at the top of the hour, we'll be talking with the Faulkner County Tea Party Chairman, David Crow, get his thoughts on this. Back in just a moment.